Today on our 2010 Toyota Venza, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the Curt Class 2 Custom Fit Trailer Hitch Receiver, part number C12341. So here's what our hitch is going to look like on the back of our Venza. It is going to sit right below the bumper, and we are going to be able to see that cross tube. That is a Class 2 hitch, which means it's going to give us that 1¼ by 1¼ receiver tube opening, and it is going to be pretty close to flush with our bumper, if not just a little bit back, so we're not going to have to worry about hitting our shin or our leg whenever we're walking behind our Venza. The way we're going to attach any of our accessories to our hitch is through the hitch pin hole here on the side, and it comes with a 1/2" pin and clip, which is always a nice added bonus. And since they are set back just a little bit from the hitch pin hole itself, we're not going to have to worry about any kind of interference with a locking device or the pin and clip itself. The hitch is going to have a 350-pound tongue weight, which is going to be the maximum downward force at the receiver tube. It's also going to have a 3,500-pound gross trailer weight rating. That's the amount that it can pull, including the trailer and everything we have loaded on it. One thing I recommend is that you should always double check your owner's manual to make sure you don't exceed the manufacturer's recommended weight. One thing the manufacturer does recommend is the use of a stabilization strap anytime we're towing any non-trailer loads or any loads that don't have tires supporting them, like a bike rack or a cargo carrier. I'd like to give you a few measurements, and that's going to help you when deciding for accessories for your new hitch, such as a bike rack or a cargo carrier. From the center of the hitch pin hole to the outermost edge of the bumper, it's going to be right about 3½ inches. Now that measurement's going to come in handy when you're looking at folding accessories to make sure you have adequate clearance between the accessory itself and the rear bumper. From the ground to the inside top edge of the receiver tube opening, it's going to be right about 12½ inches. At that measurement, I would definitely recommend a raised shank on a bike rack or a cargo carrier to make sure we have adequate ground clearance. So now that we've seen what our hitch looks like and gone over the features, let's show you how to get it installed. To begin our installation, we're going to need to lower our exhaust down. Now on each side, we're going to have 2 bolts that are holding it in place. At the very back, we're going to have this rubber isolator, and it's going to be bolted to the bottom of the frame. We're going to grab a 12mm socket and pull those 2 bolts out on each side. Now our exhaust still is supported on the back side behind the muffler with a rubber isolator, so we're not going to have to worry about putting a strap up to make sure it doesn't hang too far down. But we'll go ahead and remove the other 2 bolts on the other side. And this is just going to give us that little bit of room that we can swing the hangers out of the way. But you want to make sure that you hold on to the hardware because we will be reinstalling it later. On the bottom of our frame, we're going to have some stickers that are covering up some weld nuts. So if we come to the very back of our bumper, we're going to take the farthest one back, the one next to it, then we're going to skip this plug and go to the one that's right by our exhaust hanger. You just take a flathead screwdriver, a knife, or something. You're just going to scrape that sticker off to expose the weld nut underneath. Just want to make sure you clean all of it off and it doesn't get stuck inside the threads. Now we're going to have these 3 stickers on both sides of our frame, so we'll go ahead and remove all of them. Now with an extra set of hands, we're going to lift our hitch up. We're going to line our hitch up with those 3 spots in our frame. You may need to move the exhaust hanger out of the way to get it into position. Then we're going to take our M10 bolt and a conical tooth washer. We want to make sure that those teeth are facing up towards the hitch. We're going to get at least 1 bolt in on each side, hand tight, so the hitch will support itself. Then we can take the rest of our hardware and we're going to put it in place. We're going to have a total of 3 on each side. And our hitch should line up with all the weld nuts, so we're just going to put them in there hand tight until we get all of the hardware in place. Now I'm going to come back with a 17mm socket and I'm going to snug up all of my hardware. I'm going to come back with that same 17mm socket and torque all my hardware down to the specified amount in the instructions. You want to make sure you repeat that for any remaining hardware. Now we can go ahead and raise our exhaust back up and take the hardware we took out earlier and reinstall it. Now it's going to be easier just to get it started by hand, and then we can drive the bolts in all the way later. We can take that 12mm socket and tighten up the bolts all the way. It may help to get a swivel because now the hitch is going to be in the way of coming directly at the bolt. And that'll finish up your look at the Curt Class 2 Custom Fit Trailer Hitch Receiver, part number C12341 on our 2010 Toyota Venza.